Welcome back. We're here with Victoria from Victoria Hileman Photo. Victoria, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thanks for having me, Easton.
Of course, thanks for coming on. It's been a fuck long time since we talked, so I'm uh, happy to have you on the podcast. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, we go way back, but it's been nice that we always keep in touch, and
Yes,
I'm really excited to be here today.
of course. So you started your photography business back in 2016 when you were in high school. What inspired you to start this business?
Yeah, so Easton and I were both from Toledo, and I in high school was, dancing, and I always loved writing, and I was just a really creative kid. And I was working at the Cinemark at Franklin Park Mall. I was the popcorn girl, and I saved up my whole summer wages, which is not a lot, as you can imagine. And I went to Costco and bought a camera just because I was like, summer working in a movie theater, I wanted something to do. And in Toledo at the time, there really weren't like affordable photographer options for, like, in private school, and you probably know this from experience, like, some people can swing like a $800 photographer for their senior photos, but um, not everyone. And so I got my camera. It was a Canon 80D, and it was the value pack you get from Costco, which is like notoriously like the shitty value pack. Like, but it was a great first camera. And I started reaching out to my friends and was like, "Hey, like I'll take your senior photos like for $100, which in high school currency is like so much money." And it ended up really kicking off, and I was taking senior photos. I was taking athletic photos, family photos, and it just really picked up. And I loved being able to give people that experience at an affordable price. And that's what inspired me.
And it's really cool that you not only started a business in high school, which, as you know, is rare, but you were in high school, you were like, what problems can I solve and what problems are there? And, you know, what can I do to make sure that these people have affordable pictures? So it's really cool that you had that mindset even way back when, like you were thinking about these things instead of just going to class or, partying or those other type of things. And your photography was also featured in Vogue, on the Brides List, and Table Magazine. How do you go about making sure your photography work is exceptional?
Yeah, I think having a style is so important. A lot of photographers, your style evolves, especially looking back at the way I was editing in high school, is so different than the way I edit now. And also, I've upgraded my gear since then, so I'm not shooting on a Costco camera anymore. But, you know, from my experience, there was two things. People wanted my style, which is bright, warm, clean, timeless. And then people also wanted the experience that comes with that, which is, I have a lot of guides that help my clients. And when you have a really tailored sales experience, and people feel like they're getting that luxury experience, they'll pay the luxury price. So when that translates to luxury experience, luxury photos, like luxury brands will want to work with you. It does. And it all falls into place. And it's surprisingly easy to get featured in those platforms because you post something on Instagram and you tag them, they'll use it. And then eventually it gets to a point. For me, this was how it went, was like I was getting featured so much that they added me to like their preferred list
Yeah.
of talent, and that is how you sort of like get your foot in the door. So I just think having that vision, that style, and then just hustling, like I wasn't sitting around waiting for these brands to discover me. I was like, no, like I'm doing a real estate photo shoot for this building, and they had Table Magazine on the coffee table. It's a great shot, I'll just tag them, and they
Yeah.
used it. And that's how you get in the door.
Yeah, and I think as a photographer and as a creative person in general, it's really neat to see you bring some more of the business techniques to photography because a lot of creatives, they're very creative, but they don't really want to dive into the business or the marketing or those type of things. So
Right.
it's really, really cool that you not only bring the creative side of wanting to cultivate a good experience for your clients and, get good lighting and all those type of things, but you also bring the social media and the marketing expertise to it. And I think that's obviously why you've been so successful, on your journey so far.
Yeah. I mean, my background in undergrad is in marketing and communications, and I've been applying that to my business. And the other piece of it is like marketing for yourself is so much scarier than marketing for other people. And it works like when you have the marketing knowledge that you need, especially for photographers. That's really what like sets you apart from like people who buy a camera, try it out, and realize it's not for them, and they'll never make it, and they get scared that it's not for them. Versus like my first 5 years doing this was like really disappointing. I was like, why am I not making it big? And it wasn't until I finished school and got my marketing experience under my belt that I was like making like loads of money. So that's definitely a huge key driver in being successful in a creative industry.
And as a photographer, why do you think it's so important to capture moments in time?
Yeah. So my whole shtick is everybody gets photos taken, and it's so common for people to look back 5 years, 10 years later, and be like, "Ooh, like I can't believe I wore that," or "I can't believe I did that because it was like trendy fashion." And my whole value proposition is that I consult my clients beforehand on style decisions they can make, wardrobe decisions they can make, makeup that will keep their photos simple, classic, and timeless forever. And those are the photos people hang on their walls for years and years and years versus like, I have friends who had those wedding photos where everybody was wearing Converse under their dresses, and people had like crayon art in the back. And it's like, you thought that was so cool in 2013, but now your wedding photos are a disaster and you are embarrassed of them. I never want that for my clients. So having that approach, for one, is so important. And then secondly, I just consider it like the honor of my life that I get to be at these people's milestones in their lives and capturing it for them. Like that is so special. And when people hire me, I don't just think like, oh, it's a contract and I'm providing them a service. It's like, no, if the bride needs to cry and vent to me, like I will be there. If new mommy doesn't feel great about her body postpartum, I'm gonna edit whatever she wants. And I think that is like the most special part of it all, is like the relationships you build and the connections that you make with people in these really vulnerable, meaningful times in their lives. So twofold.
Yes. Yeah, and I think, again, you just take a very different approach to all this. Like you extend past the photography side of it. Like you care about the person outside of the picture. You're
Mhm.
like, what can I do to make sure that you feel special in the picture and outside of it? And I think that's what keeps people coming back, and that's what shows people that, hey, I'm just not here to pick up a camera and shoot photos, but I'm here to build a business for the long term. And
Right.
what emotions do you hope to invoke when people see your photography work?
That is a great question. I hope people look at my photos and think like, wow, that's like hard work. Like I hope people don't look at photos and just be like, oh, that's a pretty picture. I think I would want people to look at my photos and be like, wow, like, this is art. This is really thoughtful and not just like a cheesy couple holding hands. Um, and I've felt that way about photographers I admire. And I think that's so important. I think, anybody can take a photo. We have iPhones, we have, really successful and high tech phones that can take a very high quality image. But, when people look at my work, I want them to be like, and I feel like this is the case as of recently, is like when people fill out the form on my website, I have a question that's like, why do you want to work with me? And for me, that's like a good question I kind of use to vet clients that I'd like to take on and clients that I could foresee being not a fit. And the answers that I've been getting recently is like, I've never seen photos like yours. I want them. And if you think about how many photographers there are in the world, especially in Annapolis, Maryland, where I'm based out of most of the time, like the DMV area, Washington, D.C., Virginia, it's very saturated with luxury photographers. And um, to me, that like feeling of I've never seen anything like this, I want it, is so motivating and it like the biggest compliment.
And when you kind of began this journey, especially with you being so successful now, what is one thing that surprised you when you first became a photographer?
How hard it is to get started. Like, I went years I wasn't even charging anyone for, like, the first few years of my business because it's so hard to get clients. Um, but then I I went to undergrad in Cleveland, and at the tail end of my time there, I started making a lot of money from photography, and so I was like, "This is crazy, like, I can't believe somebody would pay, like, $20,000 for real estate photos." Like, that's crazy. That was the most money I made in one session,
Wow.
and I was like, "I can really make, like, money from this, and I love what I do, and it doesn't even feel like work to me." So then, um, transitioning to Washington, DC, I took, like, 6 months off because I was like, "I have no idea how to compete with these people." Like, everybody here shoots at the White House, and they have clients, and they've been in Vogue, and they've been in Vanity Fair, and I'm, like, some bum from Ohio. And it was really hard to get started, and so I had to start all over in DC. I was like, "But this time, no free photo shoots, like,
Yes.
no free giveaways. I'm just gonna market my ass off." And it ended up being kind of quiet at first, but I was like, "I'm not gonna take anything on that I don't wanna take on." Like, I'm not at that phase where I have to say yes to everyone. So, took some time, and it was slow, and it was quiet, and then, the last 2 years in Annapolis, I've just been booked, and right now I have bookings going out to 2026. I have a senior photo session booked in 2027 already, like, crazy shit like that where I'm like, "I don't even know where I'm gonna be by then," and it's like,
Yeah.
when you do the work and you make use of that time where it's quiet and you're not yet, like, fully booked out, it does pay forward. Like,
Yeah.
I'm so lucky that I had all that downtime to scheme and think about how I can differentiate myself in my business, because it worked, and, I'm just really fortunate for that.
Yeah. And this is more going on the personal side of things. Describe a 60-year-old version of Victoria.
Dude, I haven't even thought about that ever in my life, but I always feel like 60-year-old Victoria is probably in a cute house on the water in Annapolis. My fiance Kevin, he's a Marine out of the Naval Academy, and so is my siblings as well. So it's like the thing in Annapolis is like once you're retired, you like go back. And I would love to just be like leisurely taking photos. Like I probably wouldn't be doing weddings anymore, but like maybe like kids photos, like the precious little moments where it's like, really special, that kind of thing. And then I hope I'd be able to give back the older I am. And, when you're young, you need money to live. But when you're older and you've prepared your life to sort of settle down and slow down, I hope I'd be able to give back to the community in some way. And um, something I've always thought would be really cool is like taking headshots for women who have survived situations where they need to start over and, helping them with their resume and their headshot and like LinkedIn and networking, I think is one way I'd like to do that someday, to do more of that. So I see myself, yeah, being like a little bit photographer, a little bit philanthropist, retired
Yeah.
in a beach house.
And you want to expand because you're obviously a very giving person now from the things that you've done. You just want to expand on that. You want to be like, okay, I've made it and I've been successful. Let's take this experience, let's take this knowledge and give it back to people that might not, be as fortunate as I was.
Yeah, I think, my parents raised my siblings and I to be very aware, especially being from Toledo, that not everyone's as fortunate as you are. And there's a lot of poverty, a lot of addiction, a lot of just bad luck people get into where they can't get out from underneath themselves. And that always has stayed with me as an adult. Like if I can volunteer my time or donate my clothes from my closet or, clear out my pantry, I will. And I wish I could do more of that now. And I think, the older I get, that's going to just continue to be my mission is to just help people.
What are three What are the three most common things that appear in your dreams and or nightmares?
Oh my gosh. Okay. My nightmares is that like I've had like a bad boss once, and that person makes an appearance in my nightmares often, that like I'm back working for them. Um my dreams, oh, the nightmares. I had my first nightmare about teeth falling out the other day, and I know that's like a common nightmare people have, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that was awful." Like it ruined my whole day. And then I think like my dreams are usually like so weird, like so bizarre. I think I don't really do a good job of remembering them that well because they're so bizarre, but like um I feel like I fall asleep to Netflix, and last night I was watching the Dallas Cowboys cheerleader show, and I had a dream that I made it like all the way to the team, and then Judy and Kelly, who are the leaders of the cheerleading organization, were like, "She's not supposed to be here," like number 47. After I'd like gotten my uniform, it's like weird stuff like that, where it's like, what does that say about me? Like, do I think I'm not good enough for things in life? Do I think that I don't belong to be as, like in rooms that I'm in? Like weird stuff like that. I feel like there's always weird undertones of like imposter syndrome in my
Yes.
dreams. Now that we've talked this through and I've word vomited at you, like so, I would say, bad bosses and imposter syndrome are common recurring themes in my dream.
That's very interesting. And I think I've kind of experienced that as well, where it's like a, a lot of my business practices, I'm now dreaming about them. And
Yeah.
it's like, I think when you build that into your subconscious, it obviously shows in those type of uh, scenarios, especially in weird ways that we might not be able to process, but our subconscious is like screaming for like, get this out there, tell them. So that is very interesting. And if you could change one thing about your personality, what would it be?
I would love to be more confident, and that's something that I've been given feedback on a lot in my career, is I don't have enough confidence, like, I'm the most, like, "If you think it's okay, like, if you think this is a bad idea, we don't have to do it," like, and the reality is I am a hard worker, and if I'm contributing to something, it's good, and I can own that more. So that's something I'm actually working on going into 2025. Just because literally everybody I've asked, I'm like, "What do you think I should work on?" They're like, "You should be more confident." And you know what? I think this is the year that I
Yeah,
stop getting in my own way, and there's definitely a balance between being confident and being, conceited, and I never wanna cross that line, but, when you're a hard worker and you're passionate about what you're doing, I don't think I have to, like, walk on eggshells and, make myself small. So that is one thing I wish I could change about my personality as
I
of
feel like
today.
I feel like a lot of people struggle with that, including myself. Of like, I've done all this great stuff. I've been in the room with these huge people, but then you kind of leave the room and you're like, well, that was a fluke, or that was luck, or that was I'm not that good. I just got in there because someone liked me. Just like those reasons of like, it's not the things I've done, it's the outside things. And I think a lot of people struggle with that imposter syndrome of like, I'm just not cut out to be here.
Yeah, I think that, and it's so easy when you're a young professional to be told that because you hear no so much in life, right? Like, and then, I mean, to wonder why and to not have that, like, people aren't really transparent when like let's say you're interviewing and you don't get a job and you're like, so like what do you think I could work on? The recruiter's never going to be like, actually kid, like
Yeah,
like they're usually like, oh, I thought you did great, like there's just another candidate that was more
yeah,
experience or something like that. And I mean, for my friends who work like corporate day jobs, that's something that they've experienced, and it's like you just got to change the radio station in your head and tell
absolutely.
yourself, it's a waste of energy to like guess and think. um, you'll never really know. So all you can do is just continue to better yourself and
Yeah,
show up.
exactly. I have two more questions for you.
Yeah.
Do you think happiness should be the main goal of life?
I think it's good to be happy. I think happy coexists with a lot of other emotions that are essential to having like a main goal in life. from experience, sometimes happy just isn't in the cards for people, especially with like when you look at the numbers around like anxiety and depression. Sorry, my dog's in the back, like happiness. um, you know, I want to say if you're finding fulfillment and purpose in life, and those usually coexist with happiness, that is the goal. But you can be just happy and making terrible decisions.
Yeah.
And there's like happiness, and then there's like manic happiness, crazy, like, and finding that balance of what's good happy and like what's kind of not productive but happy, and moving forward judiciously. That would be my a very philosophical answer to that question.
Do you think that you can detach happiness from fulfillment?
Yeah, yeah. And I've discovered that recently. You know, there's a saying that's like, would you rather be successful or fulfilled? And this is something I think about all the time. And I've talked about it in other podcasts and in my personal brand. Would you rather be successful or fulfilled? And the truth is, there's so many people out there who are so successful, but they're unhappy and they're not fulfilled. And they have these ideations of like what success is to them. And they're looking around and they're like, this is not what I thought it would be. But then when you're fulfilled, and that comes, in my opinion, from finding purpose, that is success to me. I would rather be fulfilled than like swimming in cash and making the Forbes 30 under 30. And fulfillment and happiness to me go hand in hand, also with peace. I think a lot of people wrestle with, should I be doing more, should I be climbing the ladder faster? And when you're fulfilled, I feel like you can be at peace with where you are and the hard work you're doing. And um, not to say it's not a good thing to be hungry and to hustle, but sometimes it's really important to just slow down and look around and be present. So, I mean, fulfillment, happiness, peace, I think they all play a part in what the meaning of life really is. So,
That was a great answer. That was
thank
good.
you. Thank you. I read
I
a
have
lot of Harvard Business Review.
Yeah, yeah. I think those deep questions are important to look at because it's like you said, like, is it okay to slow down? Is it okay to like if I'm in the season of being fulfilled but maybe not happy, that might be okay for, a 6 month stretch to get me to a point where I want to be. So I think looking at these things is very, very important on like just the journey of life and like what do I want to accomplish? Like
Mhm.
what do I want with my life? Like do I have to be happy all the time? Do I have to be happy? Sometimes, I think those are good questions to ask.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think the because I worked in marketing outside of photography, and the role that I had that paid me the most money, which was like six figs, I was the most unhappy. And at the time when I took that job, I was like, I'm gonna be so rich for my age, and I'm gonna be such a corporate bad baddie. I'm gonna be so successful. And that job actually like destroyed my mental health. And I consider myself a mentally good person. So I mean, you can be so successful and so unfulfilled. And then to, where I am today, it's like I'm doing what I love. I'm so happy. Like I don't really think about the money because I'm not making like less than what I was making before. But like, when you focus on the right things, it can really change your worldview and your mental. So yeah.
Absolutely. I have one more question for you.
Mhm.
If you could have dinner with two people, one person from the past and one person from the present, who would it be and why?
Okay. Present would be Julie Andrews. I think she's like so cool and she's been in so many iconic films that are so beloved, and I feel like she's an icon and she will be for the rest of the future. And then past, I would probably do like dude, I would honestly love to have dinner with like Elvis and Julie Andrews. And I know Elvis wasn't a stand-up guy, but like what a table. Like me, Elvis and Julie Andrews. And I think because there's just like so I was really went down an Elvis rabbit hole when the Austin Butler movie came out a few years ago, and it makes you think a lot about pop culture and like how fame can change your mental. And people looked at Elvis and they were like, he has everything, like he's the most successful musician of all time, he's the king of rock and roll. And then, fast forward to today where one of the members of One Direction just passed away, and, people are speculating as to why. And it's like, that is just so fascinating and kind of like sad to me at the same time. Like, I just want to give them a hug. I know that sounds so weird, but like, I just want to give these people a hug and be like, I'm sorry the world like chewed you up and spit you out. And then Julie Andrews, you're just here for the good energy. Like, I love you.
Yeah.
So, Julie Andrews and Elvis Presley, or like maybe a president. I would love to meet like ugh, both present, but like dinner with like Michelle and Barack would be awesome. I would love to have dinner with them too, if that's like the plan B answer your editor wants to slip in. Um, yeah, but those are my two answers.
Nice. Yeah, those are interesting ones. Well, Victoria, that's all the questions I have. How can people find you, and what is one thing you want to leave people with?
Yeah, people can find me at victoriahilemanphoto.com under the inquire page. If you fill out that form, I will see it. People love to like DM and text photographers, but during busy season, it's really hard for me to keep up with those and things get lost on social media. So definitely just follow me on Insta or, reach out through my website if you want to work together. And then one thing I want to leave people with is probably just to you know, keep pushing forward. If you're an aspiring creative and you're struggling and you're comparing yourself to others that you think are successful and have made it, just think about like the road you're on and the path to getting there. And don't be so hard on yourself. It's so easy for creatives when you're not super booked and successful to think that they're not good at what they do. And that's just not the case. You probably just need to work on marketing and reaching the right people and what your distinct value proposition is. Do you even have one? And once you answer those questions, you'll be able to start seeing more of those leads and that business come in.
Awesome. Well, Victoria, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. It was really good to reconnect, and
Yes.
great conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Easton. I appreciate it.
Yes, of course.